Hey guys, it's Coach Gaglione from GaglioneStrength.com. We got another strong lady on the line today. Nikki, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So thank you for coming on the call. Just for the people that are watching or listening that don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you got going on right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Nicole. I'm 26, and I just actually recently started powerlifting about 2 years ago, so I'm still very new to the sport. Um, and I actually don't work in the fitness industry. I know that like a lot of high-level powerlifters, they coach and they train, and my background is totally different. I went to school for fashion and product development, and that's what I do like for my career. And I do a little bit of marketing on the side as well. So the powerlifting aspect is purely as a hobby, a passion of mine that I do on the side, but I don't really, or I haven't built like a career or income based off of it.
Very
So when I
cool.
just actually came off of a meet or two meets back to back, I did a USPA meet in Buffalo and a USPA meet in Vegas. I did IPL Worlds. So now I'm kind of enjoying a very nice long off season because I am very tired from competing.
Sure.
So nothing super exciting in that regard at the moment, but just kind of enjoying a little bit of downtime and not being in meet prep for once, which is nice.
Great. So I just wanted to kind of rewind a bit and just talk about like how did you actually get started lifting for strength, like in general?
I actually started. I when I first started really lifting, it was purely for aesthetics, and I just wanted to look good and feel good about myself. And then when I probably about a year or so into it, I noticed that I started to actually get kind of strong, and that sparked my interest. And I cared a little bit less about what I looked like. Not to say that I obviously don't care about what I look like because I do, especially as a female. Um, but the idea of being physically stronger really appealed to me. So I started training for that. And then I had followed powerlifters on Instagram and Facebook for a while. And I don't know, it just kind of seemed like something different and new, totally out of my comfort zone. I used to dance. I danced competitively for a really long time, and I played sports in high school. So not having done any kind of sport or athletic endeavor for years, actually, I decided that it was time to get into something and try something new. So I prepped myself for my first powerlifting meet about 2 years ago. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the sport, and I've been hooked ever since.
Very cool. So when you did your first meet, what was like kind of was there a defining moment where you're like, I don't want to just train, just train. I actually want to compete, which is something that kind of like pushed you to like actually signing up for your first competition. What kind of made you want to take the jump from just training to actually, being a competitor?
Um, I was getting really bored just training, like the day to day. It was really monotonous to me, and I'm very competitive by nature, and I need an end goal or I need a new goal to set each time. And having nothing in my sights to do except for go to the gym every day was super boring to me, and I missed competing in something. I don't even care what it was at the time. I just wanted to compete in something, and that was kind of the first thing that fell into my lap. I was thinking about doing a bodybuilding show, but with my history of eating disorders, I decided that was absolutely a no-go. So powerlifting was kind of the next thing that was thrown in my lap.
Cool. So that kind of like flows into the next question. So I always ask kind of like, have you ever dealt with some adversity and like how did you overcome it? So obviously, something like an eating disorder is like really kind of a big deal.
Yep.
Not everyone likes to talk about it, but can you tell us a little bit about like uh, before we kind of get into like how you kind of got out of it? Tell us like how did that start? What did it feel like when you were like kind of going through that? And then after like that, like what steps you kind of took to kind of overcome it and kind of beat the problem.
Sure. Well, just a little bit of background. So I was anorexic and bulimic for about a total of 6, 7 years. It started in high school where I wouldn't really say that I had an eating disorder in high school, but I definitely had very bad eating habits, a very unhealthy view or a very unhealthy relationship with food, and very disordered eating. And then when I went away to college, I pretty much starved myself. I would eat breakfast and then I would train early in the morning, strictly cardio. Like no, I didn't even do strength training at that point, just cardio, 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 just to burn as many calories as I possibly could. Because in my head at the time, I wanted to burn more calories than I was consuming, which obviously, as we know, is a recipe for absolute disaster. Um, So I would eat breakfast in the morning and then train for a couple hours in the morning before I went to class, and then literally not eat all day. And if anything, I would have like an apple or a couple of crackers, and that was pretty much it. On the rare occasion that I went out with friends to go out to dinner, I didn't eat anything all day, so I starved myself all day to kind of save those calories for nighttime. And I lost probably 15 pounds in my first year of college, and I was 120 pounds to begin with when I first went away to college, so I was very petite and very small to begin with.
So the freshman 15 went the other way for you.
Yeah, the total opposite direction. And then it honestly just eventually spiraled into bulimia because I wasn't losing as much weight as I wanted to. I still didn't have my perfect body that I had in my head. In my head, I still thought that I was overweight, that I could have lost weight here and there. So then I tried making myself throw up. I was really unsuccessful for the first few tries, actually, and it terrified me. And eventually, as horrible as this sounds, I got the hang of it. And so I would starve myself for as long as I could until I was absolutely too hungry to even stand it. And then I would binge. Sometimes I would binge where I would literally black out. I don't even remember actually eating the amount of food that I ate until the point where my stomach was so physically uncomfortable and in pain where I then go make myself throw up. And it was a vicious cycle for about 6 years between
Wow.
so college up until a few years after I graduated.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. So, did you kind of keep it quiet? Did like your friends like know about it? Like,
No. Well, everybody knew,
it was kind of
but
like
I'm
this.
very secretive about it. Only my best friend, and at the time, right around my senior year of college, I was married for a short period of time. So my now ex-husband knew about it, but nobody else knew. I wouldn't talk about it. I tried to hide it as best I could. I thought I was great at hiding it, but when you lose that much weight and you have that many bad eating habits, it's very noticeable. But all my friends and family, they really didn't know how to approach it, so no one ever talked to me about it. So I was kind of pretty much alone in the whole thing, and yeah.
Okay, and then what kind of steps did you take to like overcome it? And like, was there like a defining moment where you're like, did it take some time? Did you have to like, was there like, I'm like done now, I gotta stop this, or was it kind of more gradual steps to like beating it?
Both. So when I first was really faced with it, it was my best friend who confronted me about it because it was maybe home from college and I had gotten blackout drunk, which was kind of the norm for me back then. And I admitted to her that I made myself throw up. And the next morning, she confronted me about it. I tried denying it, but she didn't let it go. And I'm really glad that she didn't, because had she not, I honestly don't know if I would have beat it as soon as I did, or if ever. So she really made me deal with it at first, but it wasn't until maybe 3 years later that I actually was healthy. I acknowledged that I had a problem and that I really needed to change something, otherwise I would end up in the hospital or dead. And I did actually end up in the hospital a couple of times. So, but over the years, like I knew how that I needed to get better and I needed to be healthy, but I didn't know how to, because it wasn't just a matter of making better food choices. It was more of a mental standpoint that I had to improve my mental health and face some very deep-rooted issues that I had, which were obviously the cause of it and the trigger of it, before I could actually stop starving myself and stop making myself throw up. But flash forward, I guess, 3 years, I moved down to New Jersey because I was living in New Hampshire at the time, and I really, really was adamant on changing my life, like a complete 180. So probably I'd say about 6 months before I actually was 100% done with it, I would try to give myself not a deadline, but like I would count the days of how many days I could go without starving myself or without making myself throw up. And at first I went 1 day. And then after that I would go 3 days. And then after that I would go about a week. And then obviously I would relapse each time. But eventually it stuck.
Got a little longer every time. You got like a little progress.
Yeah.
So did you did you get support? Did you have any professional help? Did you just kind of do it on your own, or?
No professional help. Honestly, I was terrified of going.
Yeah, it's a little
I
scary.
have seen a psychologist before, but at the time I didn't really want to face the issues that I knew I had to face, so I
Yeah.
tried to deal with it on my own. So the really only support that I had was my best friend, which at the time that I actually was getting better or starting to get better, we were estranged. So I pretty much did it 100% on my own.
And then, so when did you start kind of like lifting? Did that kind of help you kind of change your mindset a little bit, and talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I did start strength training while I was still facing my eating disorders, and I ended up having a slew of injuries because of that, because I was obviously very malnourished and very unhealthy. My organs were shutting down. But once I kicked it and once I stopped starving myself and stopped making myself throw up, it kind of just took time. And as I was nourishing myself better and eating better, I noticed that I was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And all of a sudden, my mentality to focus on, excuse me, on one thing shifted to another thing. So I guess you could say that it's trading one addiction for the other. Although I would say that lifting weights is a little more of a healthier path
Sure,
than
sure.
the alternative. But from there, it just kind of spiraled into, getting healthier and then getting stronger and then wanting to be competitive in something, and it just went from there.
Cool. Yeah, I want to and I know like maybe some people may say like, oh yeah, you're maybe is that healthy to be addicted to something else? But one thing I always kind of like say, you know, you're putting your energy into like something positive now.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing I always say too, like with lifting, training is could be like a metaphor for life. So you're kind of like learning all these skills, the work ethic, goal setting, all these
Absolutely.
things, and then it's and then you kind of see those. You get what's great about powerlifting is you can see those changes, especially in the beginning, like week to week. You can kind of see that progress. Now it's like, oh well, where something like your body image, your physique and things like that, that may take a lot longer. It's a little harder,
Mm-hmm.
like mentally, to kind of see those like positive changes. So when you start to shift your focus on like performance, and then like now you're starting to become healthier, and as a result, which I think is really really cool. So if someone was maybe struggling with some type of eating disorder or body image, what advice can you give to women that are maybe afraid to ask for help, but they just don't really know like where to start? Like what would you say?
I would recommend to not do what I did. I didn't seek professional help, and I really should have. And had I done so, I probably would have been healthier a lot sooner than I was. I don't know like the percentages or the statistics and how many people actually get healthy and stay healthy when they do it on their own, but it's really hard.
Yeah,
And when you do it on your own, you feel alone. And that's one thing that you don't want to feel when you're in that situation, because it is just a downward spiral. I would suggest to seek help, whether even if it's not a doctor, not a psychologist, just some kind of outlet, some kind of support system where you can talk about what's going on and kind of vent and speak out loud, just so you have somebody in your corner, and eventually maybe see a doctor, maybe see a psychologist. It's all really depending on where you're at in that stage, because it is a very long process. It's not like you just one day go to a doctor or a psychologist and you're fixed and you're all better. And even now, like I've been healthy for probably about 4 years now, and to this day, I still have my own battles with it. Like especially even in powerlifting, like it's not a bodybuilding competition. Obviously, it's not about your physique or your aesthetics, but having that background, like right around a meet, especially where I have to eat a lot more, and then I'm cutting weight, and then I'm bloating back up. It's very very difficult for me mentally. Um, so even now, like it never really goes away. You can have a better handle on it, and the earlier that you recognize that and kind of realize like, oh, this really may not be, this may not go away ever. You
yeah,
may still struggle with it up until, I don't know, the day you die. But once you recognize what triggers those emotions and what
right.
triggers those thoughts of, oh, maybe I should starve myself, maybe I should make myself throw up, you can kind of get a better handle on it. And you'll get to a point where you don't act on those emotions.
Yeah, I think whether anytime you have any type of like kind of mental disorder, depression, or whatever, I think sometimes like you're learning kind of like you said, learning the triggers, learning how to manage it, and just kind of like not letting it define you, not letting it kind of run your life is important, and then you kind of can start to kind of move forward and kind of start to build up all this positive energy and shift your focus into something good to just kind of advance yourself. So that is really great stuff. We appreciate you sharing that. I know it's not always easy. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, if you're struggling with these kind of issues yourself. So the next question I always like to ask is, if someone's kind of just on the fence about lifting, or they're not sure if they were like, maybe should they compete, should they not? What advice can you give to women who are just kind of starting out with strength training?
If you're just starting out, it can be really daunting and really intimidating. I know that it was for me. I can't speak for women everywhere, but that's a common theme that I see, is that a lot of women are on the fence. Oh, should I do this? Should I not? If you're on the fence about it, I would just do it. You have nothing to lose at that point. The worst that happens is you do it, you don't love it, and then what's the big deal? Especially if you're on the fence, I really would suggest just to do it. You never know what's going to happen. And if you're on the fence, there's usually a reason. Part of you wants to do it and part of you doesn't. And the part of you that doesn't, more than likely, will probably be because you're scared, you're nervous, you're unsure of the unknown. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it.
Just go for it and see how you like it. I think that's a really common thing. I think that's almost everyone probably says, it's like, yeah, just do it. It sounds
Yeah,
like
but
so
it's
easy.
easier said than done. I know, especially when you feel like you don't have the resources to do it. And as women especially, like, and even as athletes, we compare ourselves to everyone else. Like, I'm guilty of it. I've compared myself to all the high-level female lifters, and I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this.
Right.
Like, even going to Worlds in Vegas, I'm like, oh my God, these girls are so strong. Like, I don't know if I should really be sharing the same platform as them, but you really are doing it to push yourself and to beat your best numbers and to be the strongest that you can be. And there's always going to be someone stronger than you.
Sure.
There's always going to be someone smarter, prettier, whatever it is. Like, there's always someone who's better at something than you. That doesn't mean that you should hold yourself back because there's someone that could be doing it better. Who cares?
Yeah, and also, on the flip side of the coin, there's going to be someone that that's looking up to you.
Exactly.
As well. So I think as long as you're like a better version of yourself from yesterday, I think that's like the most important thing is you focus on your own personal progress and your personal story.
Like when I first came out about my eating disorders, it really was a form of therapy to me because I hadn't talked about it to anyone. And the more that I shared my story, the more that I got feedback from all these girls that I actually knew from my hometown that shared similar stories, and I had absolutely no idea that they were experiencing the same thing, which really helped me because it made me feel that I wasn't alone. But there's always someone out there who can share a similar experience to you.
Cool. One thing I forgot to ask before, before we kind of shifted gears. So you said, I guess you were like you kind of started college around like 120, and then you kind of like lost 15 pounds. And so can you just, I know like the scale is another thing that could be like a real like kind of tough on the mind and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and I know like you've done like I don't know if modeling's the right word, but you've done some pictures where like you're kind of like your body's kind of exposed and things are like obviously your head's like way different now than, and your perception of your own body is like a lot healthier and better.
Right.
So can you talk about like maybe like just what your how your body's kind of changed on the scale, but also versus like how you actually like how it looks now and your just overall confidence level since you've started like lifting?
Yeah. So when I first started lifting, when I was at my unhealthiest point, I was around 92 pounds.
Wow.
So my weight has fluctuated anywhere from starting at 120 when I first went to college, and then 92, and then it shot back up to above the 100s. And when I started strength training is when the scale started going up and up and up. So I've been anywhere from 92 pounds to 150 pounds. Right now, I compete in the 132 class, which is a really easy cut for me. But the scale can definitely mess with your mind. It's hard as a female, especially as an athlete who has to be mindful of what your weight is, depending on what weight class you compete in. It's very difficult to kind of move your mindset away from that. But my own personal experience is that I have once I started getting healthier and actually enjoying my body and all the different stages of it, I feel comfortable at 130. I felt comfortable at 140. I felt comfortable kind of at 150. It's really about kind of, I know it sounds very cliche, but finding the beauty in you at all stages that you're at. And it really comes down to a confidence thing. It comes down to, what's the word? I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, yeah, so it's a process, and it's something that I can say or that anyone can really say that is really going to truly resonate with someone and just change their mind of how they perceive themselves. But it comes down to each individual person kind of finding their inner beauty.
Cool. Yeah, I think that you're a lot more than just like a number on the scale. You know, like I said, having that positive self, you know, that body image, that perception, you know. And like I said, we're all different. We're different heights, we're different shapes, we're different sizes. And I think just being comfortable in your own skin is super important, whether you're, you know, man or woman or whatever. I think that is huge. So very cool. So we're about to close out the interview, but definitely once we stop the recording, you can definitely stay on. Where can people find more about you if they want to follow you, or you know, if you want to like you know, plug anything that you have got going on? Just where can people find more about what you're doing?
Yeah, my Facebook, it's my full name, so it's Nicole Elizabeth Balkau. It's Balkau. And then my Instagram is Nikki B11, so it's Nikki _ B11. And that's pretty much me. I don't have YouTube or anything, so those are really the only two social media outlets that you can find me on.
Cool, and I guess like I know people if people want to reach out, like if they're having a problem, they can chat with you or shoot you.
Absolutely, 100%.
Awesome. So we appreciate. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for coming on.
Thank you.
I know, like I said, this is, you know, like I said, a tough topic for a lot of people to chat about. So we really appreciate you kind of opening up to everyone. Definitely give her a follow, give her some love, drop a comment below. If this interview helped you, please share it. Please give this podcast a 5-star review. It helps other people find us, and so we can help more people out. So thank you guys for watching, and then we'll see you next week.